Swimming is really good fun. However, we want to make it enjoyable and safe. So due to that, there is some essential safety equipment that we need to check each time we open the pool. And I'll be going through those with you now. The first item we have is our artificial external defibrillator. This is the item we use should somebody be having a suspected cardiac arrest. And as lifeguards, you would have been trained in how to use it. However, we still need to check it each day. The main item we're looking for is to make sure that the green light is flashing. This tells us that it is fully charged and ready to use. As a secondary scan, we're just going to check to make sure that the packaging is fine, it is okay, and that the tab is in place. Once we've satisfied ourselves that the package is all set to use, we can place that aside and move on to the next piece of equipment. The second item we need to check is our oxygen equipment. There are several parts to this. Firstly, we need to check that the cylinder we have in the bag has got sufficient oxygen in it and is ready to use. To do this, we simply unzip the bag, open it up, and pull the bottle out and forward so we can access the gauges and clearly read them. So what we're now going to do is check the contents level of the cylinder. We have our gauge here, which will tell us how much is in it, and then we have the valve here, which will open, which will then let the gauge register the quantity we have within the cylinder. So before we open the gauge, we check that the arrow here is on the off area. We then turn the gauge valve open, and we see here the needle is registering the green area, which tells us there is sufficient oxygen within the cylinder. To conclude the check, we now turn the valve off to close it. We then turn this dial all the way around to allow pressure to be released. We then replace it back to the off position. We then simply slide the bottle back into the bag and zip it back up. Once we've completed that, our next check is to check the additional equipment that comes with this oxygen. So we quickly unzip here and check to make sure that our resuscitation equipment has not been damaged and is in a usable condition. As you can see, this equipment is still in its original packaging. It's nice, clean and fresh, so it's good to go. You simply then just pack that back away into that bag, and the use of this equipment would have been covered in your lifeguard training. Once all zipped up, we can move on to the next piece of equipment. The final piece here is our spare oxygen cylinder. It is important that we do have a spare oxygen cylinder on site at all times. So here we're just checking to make sure that it hasn't been damaged, and we can tell by the white tape that the seal hasn't been broken and that the cylinder is full. Once we've done that, we can place it back where we got it from. The final piece of equipment we're going to inspect is our spinal board. The easiest way to check this, you start from the top and we'll work our way down. At the top here, we have our head block. We just want to check to make sure it is attached that all the clips are secure and that they go across the back of the board. The next part to our headboard is our speed blocks. We're going to check that the blue button presses in and that we can raise them. Then grip, place them in the headboard, make sure they move smoothly, and then if we push down, it locks into place. And we do this for both. Locks in. The next part we're going to check is the straps. So we simply grab them, make sure they're firmly attached, that the clips work, and we do this for each. Once we've done that, we've completed our check of the spinal board and it can now be placed outside ready for use if required.